From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
Welcome to Hotline TV. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm Con Carroll. John's off today. He's on his 32nd viewing of the Simpsons movie already.
This week, the Democratic candidates make their pilgrimage to the yearly Kos Bloggers Convention in Chicago. Kind of other than Bill O'Reilly criticizing the convention, what do you expect will come out of it? What are we going to see?
I don't know. I can't tell you what's going to come out of it, but I can tell you what definitely will not come out of it.
Okay, we'll start
I've
there.
seen some people in this town talking about Clinton having a Sister Soldier type moment here in Chicago, that she'll go to the yearly Kos convention, talk to the bloggers, and distance herself from them to establish more, central credentials.
Right.
That I can guarantee you is not going to happen. Hillary,
because she doesn't know a Sister Soldier song? Because we don't even know what she
I think you make a good point there, is that, who was Sister Soldier to begin with? And then when we look back on what Clinton was able to do, is that he was able to very specifically target one person to make a statement without alienating a whole movement. And Hillary's team is just as smart as Bill's. And someday down the road, they may pick out some blogger on the left that does something out of bounds, and they'll point to it and say that's bad.
Right, and then everybody will rally around it and say, of course, we shouldn't talk about killing cops or whatever the issue would be.
Daily Kos is not that blog. This is not that community, and they're embracing the community as a whole.
Will there be any booing? Are we going to hear about booing about the war, like we heard at other conferences where there were liberals and she got up in front of them and? It's
definitely possible. She's still not super popular within the community. Marcos, the founder of Daily Kos, did some favorable, unfavorable ratings for Democratic politicians on his site recently, and Hillary was the most unpopular one polled. That said, however, she has been steadily gaining in the Daily Kos straw polls, and after every debate, all four of them, you go into the Daily Kos comment boards and you read everything people say about Hillary, and they are impressed with her every time. I mean, she was starting with such a low point to begin with. I said at the first debate, just by showing up without, a pitchfork and tail, she was able to improve her standing. But she has, reached out to them. Her internet director, Peter Dow, has not missed an opportunity to find common ground. And so she's definitely made inroads into a community where she was unpopular, to the fact that I think there will be hardly any, if at all, booing of Hillary Clinton.
Where was that unpopularity really centered on? Was it this idea, was it really on her policy positions, or was it the sense that she was so establishment that she would never accept folks like
I think
guys?
article number 1 on the bill of attainder for Hillary Clinton would be, her vote, to authorize war.
Of course.
They're upset about that, and they don't think that she's ever answered that satisfactorily, unlike John Edwards has. So because she's never, admitted mistake there, that's their big case against her. Now there are of course other stuff too. Her husband's connections to the DLC. She's establishment. They feel that she didn't do enough for Ned Lamont and Connecticut, too close to Joe Lieberman. Right. So there are other things that fit along that same two establishment realm. But the number one issue for them is the war. All
right, and finally, is this convention? Is there a threat that it actually becomes to establishment? I mean, now that it's year number 2, all the Democratic candidates are coming in, they get lots of coverage, and now, so how can they be the outsiders and the new kids on the block when it's now becoming a staple for Democratic candidates?
This convention is going to be less of a love fest than last year's was. Last year's was kind of almost like a Woodstock, people coming together who had meeting for the first time. Everything was great.
Was there mud or nakedness at all?
I can't comment on the nakedness, but there was no mud.
Okay.
However, since then, there have been some internal Netroots community issues. Marcos significantly pared down his blog role, as did Atrios, another big blogger, and some of the smaller to mid-level bloggers were quite upset with that. And so I've asked a couple of them who still have their own blogs, still sometimes post at Daily Kos and Diaries, if they're coming to this year's convention. And many of them aren't. Many of them that were purged from the role still are bitter about that, are not coming in. So, is there a segment of the community out there that feels that Kos has gotten too big time to establishment? Yes. I don't think it's that big of an issue, but that sentiment is there. But more importantly, they're getting 6 out of the 6 and the big 3 candidates are all coming by. So I don't think anyone's really complaining about that.
I doubt they will do that next time either. All right. Well, we're out of time for today. See you next time on Hotline TV.